Okay, what's going on, guys? Brain here with you guys, another live stream. This is episode 1 of the Saints Sit Down, a weekly show where we're going to be taking a look at just the New Orleans Saints as a whole, a couple previous game breakdowns, future games ahead, well, especially like this week ahead as it's tomorrow already, a week's flying, or is it tomorrow? No, two more days they play. Never mind. But then other injuries that are concerning our offense / defensive concerns for not only the past weeks, but also going forward. And then also today we are also going to be breaking down the Thursday night football recap as well. A lot of things that for Saints fans, I think we're going to nail a lot of things this week, or at least in this episode. Pretty much everything that we're going to be doing is all on the right side of the screen. We're literally just going to follow straight down, and if you guys want to join in, have any opinions about anything, like I said, I know it's week 1, but it's going to be a fun one. This is something I've been wanting to do, and I'm glad we kind of figured out how to get everything structured and everything like that. So if you guys could hit that like button, comment below. Also, just kind of how you guys are feeling about this, the new setup and stuff like that. Any other changes, anything like that, to make it the best viewer / listening stream for you guys. Any feedback is greatly appreciated. But we're gonna get into it, starting with just their current standings, and that is them being 1 and 2. They are, one of the 3 teams in their division that's 1 and 2 right now. Buccaneers are currently the only other team that are they're 2 and 1. But I will say, this division is not lost yet. So a lot, for me, when I hear that, okay, they lost another game, it's so easy to be like, man, you're 1 and 2, more than likely a division leaders, 3 and 0 right now. They're pushing for something else. You got 2 and 2 teams or 2 and 1 teams. You could be losing the division right now, and it's not like that yet. The key word is yet, because there's a lot of concerns going forward. But you got the Panthers and the Falcons, which one, you beat the Falcons, then you lost to the Panthers and Buccaneers as well. So right now they're 2 and 1 in their division, or I'm sorry, 1 and 2 in their division. But that's also all they've played. So most of the time with Saints and whoever it is in their division, sometimes it's not who they truly are. And I think as a Saints fan, you always know that you could have the best offense and they could completely get shut down against the Falcons, because it's just that kind of game. Panthers, it seems like we always give up a big rushing play to McCaffrey, and some random play against what they did before with the 60+ yard touchdown against Panthers. And they always seem to make some weird mistakes when it comes to Buccaneers. So right now, with their record being 1 and 2, it's not a panic button for sure, but how they played it, you also have to kind of steadily, you kind of want to push the panic button, but at the same time, you look at who they faced, all division teams, it's kind of still open for who the Saints are, because they're a team that historically has played a completely different game when it comes to them playing their division rivals. So it's not a panic button yet for their for anything like that. Now, it is a concern that they're already 1 and 2 in their division, which that could come down to the wire way later. But with all that being said, we're gonna break down how they got here, and essentially, we're not gonna do this every week. We might just go back to maybe next week we'll just take a look at Vikings game, and possibly 1 game or 2 games ahead instead of 3 games behind. We might reiterate maybe a little bit of the Panthers game next week, just because it's still relatively new, but we'll also see how they play against the Vikings. But we'll start off with their week 1. They did win against the Falcons. I just kind of said Falcon on that. Like I said, still learning progress here. Falcons, there we go. Give them all the birds. You know, they're not just a falcon. They're multiple. They're a flock of birds. So they did pull out that comeback win, 27-26, and it was something of a, like, I think a shock that Falcons could be good, but also, you know, the Saints defense stepped up when they needed to, and their offense produced when they really needed to. So it looked like they should be able to get the ball rolling. And like I said, it's against the Falcons, who normally play the Saints very tough, as well as the Saints play them very tough. This is always a coin flip of a game, no matter how good the two teams are. Like this, it's always kind of comes down to this kind of style of game. But like, I feel like coming out of this game, a lot of people were like, the Saints offense just needed that week 1 rally. And, you know, they have the players. They have, you know, Landry, Thomas, well, had these players, as you can see a little further down, which we'll get to, of their injury kind of report here. But, you know, so there's still a lot of questions with their offensive situation. Their defense also giving up. Like I said, Falcons were kind of a who are they? And they kind of showed that against the Saints, sadly, of who they were. But, you know, I don't think it was a lot to take away this game. But Buccaneers game, this is where the big concern was. Not only Buccaneers defense played tremendous, but it also is like, okay, what do you, like, in offensive standpoints, you're kind of taking unnecessary risks. You should be, I know, this is a kind of game where you would rather go 3 and out and be like, props to the Buccaneers, than trying to force something and losing this game the way they did. Like, I think Winston, I think, still has a long way, and it sucks that Sean Payton left when he did. Like, I wish he would have stayed, like, potentially 1 more year, or even half a year. Just give Winston just a few more games and time with Sean Payton to fix who he was, because I think he was making huge growth, like huge progress of his career. And now that he doesn't have like that pretty much mentor in, you know, Sean Payton and Breeze as well. I mean, that was a few years ago now, but either way, like, it really changes a lot of who he has become as well. He's forcing a lot. You have the receivers and running backs to be able to go through every single progression and make the right play, and he has to keep doing that. Now, obviously, he's hurt, so I'm excited for Dalton. Dalton has been able to do this before, with a very solid team before, where, you know, you have AJ Green and like a couple other side pieces, especially when it comes to dumping it down to pretty resourceful running backs. Like, Dalton could take this team to a new level that, you know, I think people kind of forget the player he was in Cincinnati already, because he's kind of went through a couple teams now. But I mean, he was on Dallas for a little bit and kind of proved he was still like capable of being a quarterback. Chicago, he had a little rough thing, but I think Chicago was just kind of a dumpster fire with playing around with too many quarterbacks and not really giving anyone an answer. I mean, they were playing with Trubisky, Dalton, Foles, and I think Fields was on the back burners of all that as well. So you had like 4 quarterbacks that you just had no idea, like, what's going on. So I think Dalton could be the answer potentially. I do think they need to get back into reusing Taysom Hill a lot more. This offense, he's so energetic. Like, I know he wants to be a quarterback and like all of his other things, but whenever he touches the ball, mostly when it's positive, even if it's not a touchdown, he'll get it for a 4-yard gain or something like that, and he pops up, huge smile, teammates are electric around him. He might not be the quarterback for the Saints, but he is, as far as, like, it's honestly between him and the running backs. Mark Ingram and Kamara have probably a great, like, well, not probably, but I was going to say probably have the greatest chemistry, but don't know how the other running backs act with each other. But between Kamara and Ingram, they are so electric together. They complement each other so well. And now you throw Taysom Hill in there as well. And this team is like, any play can be like very uprising for the Saints. And sadly, I know we kind of got a little off subject, but they're relying a little too much on their quarterback play when that's not the energy. The energy isn't going through. It used to be Breeze is lighting it up in the air and everyone's loving it because he's throwing for 5,000 yard seasons. It's like 70 plus completion percentage, 40 plus touchdowns, whatever it may be. And now all of a sudden you're switching everything, right? Like, they're like, no, look at our offense. Like, look at our receivers. We have Olave, that's, rookie of the month. We have, Landry, Thomas, Kamara out of the backfield. Why aren't we throwing the football? Because you can't. You can't throw the football anymore. You don't have an accurate enough quarterback. You give a quarterback like Winston these kind of players, and you're asking him to force the ball. And that's just plain and simple. Is he'll learn, and you saw it against in the Panthers game. He trusted Olave so much that he's forcing the ball to him, and it's getting picked. And yes, some of the plays maybe aren't his fault. Without, like, you can make the excuses, or whether they're legitimate or not. But you can say what it is. Is their interceptions, plain and simple. And they're a drive loser, like they're a drive canceler, denier, whatever. They turn the ball over, and you can't have that. So it's almost, you need to get back to fundamentals and get back to the run game and where that team's electric is. You make the players go to focus on Kamara and Ingram, and all of a sudden those passing lanes, one of them's going to be open because you have the dynamic force that you have going for yourself. Kind of got into a little bit of the Panthers game, but I want to kind of go a little bit more into this. Again, it's a division game. We always give up some stupid play against the Panthers offense. Like, defensively, we give up a stupid play to them. And normally McCaffrey has a pretty solid day, but it doesn't define who the Saints are defensively. I really think this was more of an offensive concern rather than defense. I think their defense is going pretty strong in these last few weeks, making that shutout stop against the Falcons. Like in that second half part. Buccaneers, I think they played really well. Whether it's Tom Brady's downfall right now, either way, you're shutting him down, so that's good. And then Panthers, this wasn't really a game that I would not put this game on defense. This is an offensive, was an offensive collapse, and it really shouldn't have been. And you give yourself a few more drives instead of throwing interceptions or turning the ball over. And this game's completely different. You have to maintain drives, and even if you punt the ball, force the opposing team to make it hard for them. Whether it's a quick 3 and out, okay, at least their offense is still tired after a long drive. And that's the other thing is, especially that this is Dennis Allen's team now, it's going to be run through the defense. So focus on the defense, focus on the run game. I mean, that Kamara and Ingram, man, they love talking to Cam Jordan and Demario Davis. These are the players that you want to fuel your team by. It's not Jameis Winston, Thomas. Yes, Thomas flexes muscles, is a great receiver, everything like that. Olave is a breakout receiver for the Saints, and then you got Landry, which was a #1 receiver in the Browns, but now he's over here. You have the offensive weaponry to be a great team, but that's not where you need to fuel the offense from. you need to feel it in the backfield and on that defensive side of the ball. And that's where it really starts. And once they figure that out, I think the Saints, and I said it before, could make a huge run, like whether it's in the playoffs or to the Super Bowl. They're a very underdog team. They just need to figure it out. Kind of going from that top section now down to, I keep messing this up. I should just put my camera on that side because I'm so used to pointing over here or pointing this way, but it's over here. We'll go down to what's going on with this week. Kind of goes into a lot of what's going to be going down this list. But this week they are facing Vikings, who are already 2-1. I believe they're on the top of their division. They are. I mean, with Chicago and Packers right there at 2-1 as well. And this is exactly what I mean as a Saints fan, is your situation could be a lot worse. You're 1-2. A lot of people have said they should be 0-3. Even if you consider that a fluke game and they should be 0-3, your division's not good enough to say, well, we're done. You're not. Like, Panthers and Falcons just as easily can win or lose. I mean, I'm saying more so lose a lot more games than you should. So now you just got to beat out the Buccaneers, which already somebody's going to figure out their defense, or, you know, their defense might slow down, something like that. And you just got to win these. You have to keep pushing and winning need to win games, especially when it comes into conference games. That's really where it comes down to, because a lot of these teams I don't think really are that good. But they have to play better. And so the Vikings, like I said, defense was not the problem. I'm not worried about really Vikings offense versus them. I think defense is taking a lot of responsibility for where they're sitting right now, and they really should. You have a defensive-minded coach, and you pretty much brought back most players that you've had. There's no reason why you should be this bad. Plus, Tyrann Mathieu, come on, man. Come on, dude. Like, Honey Badger. Where's the interceptions? Where's these big plays that I think as a Saints fan, when you sign to us, we're thinking like, not so much like Darren Sharper back in the day, but we're thinking like Tracy Porter at least, like something where it's like this electrifying player, and kind of we have that with Lattimore, I guess, like Tracy Porter wise, that can shut down a team or shut down a player. But we're looking for that explosiveness. He's supposed to be that, oh, balls in the air, he's running across field making the pick. That's who he is. We haven't seen it yet for the Saints yet. Instead, we've seen like sloppy tackling, sloppy angles. Hence why the Panthers got that 60+ yard touchdown. It wasn't. I don't want to take anything away from the player that made that play, but it wasn't really him doing anything spectacular. He caught the ball and ran straight. Everyone else missed the tackle or took the wrong angle to tackle him. Like, that was a defensive, like, brain fart, dysfunction, whatever you want to call it. It was on them. It was on them why that play even happened from start to finish. He caught the ball, and he should have been down not even a second after. Or, like, the conversion of other players to that ball carrier, it should have made it to where, even if he wasn't down, like, right away, he was going to get down. It should have never became like, oh my god, he's free. It shouldn't have been that. He should have been literally tackled 5-10 yards away from where he actually caught the ball. Like, and that's that plain and simple. It should not have taken it to the house. Like, that's for sure. But as far as the Vikings game though, I can totally see how, and I think if they lose the game terribly, like I'm saying like a 35-14 kind of game, I think Saints are done. I really do. Like, I know it's like I just said, don't hit the panic button. You're not in a tough division, everything like that. If you prove that you can't stop an offense and our offense isn't going anything either, like what did we do? Like, come on, dude, come on. Like, we have to get something rolling this week, otherwise it's panic button time. And I think this is the right week. I mean, I really hope Jameis Winston recovers with the back injury, things like that. But Dalton's got to be the answer. I truly believe he needs, like it's not a backup quarterback kind of situation where it's like, okay, like as long as he plays well, like, no, he needs to step in and be that starting quarterback. Like, as if Jameis Winston was the backup and they were just trying to test him to see how he was doing, but Dalton's the actual starting quarterback. That's what needs to happen. Is Dalton needs to play like a starting quarterback, whether it's a game managing quarterback, I don't care. Like, if you want to run the ball, throw check downs, if we win, we win. I really don't care how you play. I really don't. We have that explosive offense, but you don't need to make explosive plays. Those players will make those plays special. It's not you throwing a 60-yard touchdown bomb to these players and being like, oh my god, he's so fast, I'm so great at throwing, it's amazing. No, just do your job, take the progression, take the checkdowns, let those players make the highlight reel. Just get the ball to them. You have the players to make the highlight reels for you. Like, you throw a check down to Kamara and boom, 40 yards. Wow. Okay, all I did was throw the ball 2 yards upfield and he took it the rest of the way. And I get the stats for that. Cool. Let that be the case. Dalton, just do the job. There, you don't step in, and I hate that Winston's hurt, because it kind of sounds a little like, messed up when I say it, but like, Dalton needs to come in and take the job. He needs to. And I love Jameis Winston's energy. I really do. I think he's a fun player to have in the locker room, things like that. I think he complements kind of what Cam Jordan is, but listen, if you can't ball out on the field, don't ball out in the locker room. What is that? Like, no, you work hard and you play harder, right? Like, like Cameron Jordan, for example, if he plays really well, man, he's over there, he's on podcasts, and he's talking up his defense, right? Like, and that's, he's celebrating, him and his teammates, they're all, same thing with Kamara and Ingram. Like, if they're balling, man, they're having fun, they're dancing on the sideline. You need that, right? But you can't be Jameis Winston and, dancing and, everything like that, and you're losing to the Panthers, you're losing the Buccaneers, and both of these games are on you. So you can't be doing that. And I think that's just simple coaching at that point. It's just like, look, cut it out. Like, stop saying all this stuff until you prove that, not a Falcons falconing, okay, where they blow a lead. Like, not in that kind of scenario. Prove that you can start to finish win a football game, then dance. Then go ahead and dance on the sideline, make your jokes, be a Jameis Winston that you are. But, I mean, this kind of goes for the whole team as well. I'm just kind of pointing Jameis Winston out a little bit. But you have to prove that you can win the game start to finish for anyone to take you seriously. You can't make a miraculous comeback. Look at the Jets. People still know they're a joke of a team. People don't think they're doing anything anyway. Partly because they're division, but like, either way, they're the Jets. You know what they are. You know how they're going to play. You know how they're going to act. you don't take them seriously. They make a comeback, it's still just like, okay, good on you, but we already know who you are because you didn't win that game start to finish. You just finished the game strong and stronger than your opponent. And that's where the Saints are right now. They're proving they can't win a game start to finish right now, and that's the biggest takeaway. This game against Vikings, they need to win start to finish, and it starts with that defense. Because if you can't, you need the biggest thing is, if there's one key thing, rattling Kirk Cousins. Because if there's one biggest thing that I've noticed about like Kirk Cousins and wide receiver chemistry, is when he's off throwing the ball in the dirt, overthrowing, his receiver gets frustrated. All of his receivers get frustrated. The fans get frustrated. Well, I mean, obviously this is, in London, so it's kind of a little different. But either way, players and everything are frustrated with him. Because they know he's kind of like, he's a good quarterback, but like, is he a Super Bowl quarterback? No, like, he's not great, but like, he'll do. Kirk Cousins is a he'll do kind of quarterback. But now you need to rattle him. And where does that start? The defense. Once that defense starts, and by doing that, you're going to force the turnovers. You're going to have fun. But you can't, the Saints can't be rename the series to Saints Slander and feature me. we aren't slandering them. We really aren't. Like, we're trying to figure out what are they? Like, what are they doing? And so far I think we hit on some big notes here, but in terms of against the Vikings, like, this is a must-win game. And that's exactly what I mean. Is you have to the team's fueled by defense. Before it was the offense, because your head coach is an offensive coordinator. Sean Payton was the head of the Saints, and so your energy needs to be led by the offense. If your offense is doing good, your defense normally played pretty well with him, or some years very bad, but that was defensive coordinator side of things. Yeah, I picked the Vikings, 1-3 Saints. Let's go. I'm gonna ban you. I'm not banned. This is the only stream that I think I'll ban you from. But like, it is a must-win game for Saints, and based off like press conferences and stuff like that, most of the Saints' defensive side of the football, they know it's on them to win these games. They know it's on them to, get things started right. They know it's on them. It all starts with them. And when Cam Jordan said that, when it was like, oh, it all starts with us, it starts with me, like, he needs to have a game. Like, I'm saying, like, 2 sacks. He needs to get in Kirk Cousins' face and rattle him. Because rattled Kirk Cousins, like, you've seen him in Monday nights. Rattled Kirk Cousins is not much better than a Monday night Kirk Cousins. And that's where they need to get him down to. Because a on-fire Kirk Cousins with this offense is going to breed danger for the Saints. Now, this is also the first game for the Saints that they're away from the division. Which, as I said before, Saints division, they normally play pretty well against the Saints. Panthers and Saints, sometimes is more of a blowout than not, like for one team, whatever. But like Buccaneers and Saints, always been pretty close. As far as like recent years, meaning Falcons and Saints have always been a good game. So like, I'm not putting any pretty much past weeks on them. There are concerns with all 3 of those weeks of how they've played and everything like that, but this is the first week that you're away from your division, obviously away from America too. How do you perform? I think this is the first week we see the true New Orleans Saints. And like, as a Saints fan, this is where the exciting moment can happen. Is however they play the Panther or the Vikings this week, or this Sunday, I guess I could say, because it's not even a week away. This is your team. This is our team right now, and whether it's a win, loss, however they play this game, because Vikings could be a very, very good team. We don't really know yet. I mean, we have a Monday night Kirk Cousins and then 2 pretty decent Kirk Cousins games to kind of figure out what the Vikings are. But are the Saints, this is how people will see, okay, are Saints a playoff team? Are they like a top team? Are they a bad team? Like, this is their defining moment. Stop lying. It's the truth though. It really is the truth. This is the first week that we actually will see the true Saints, because as I said before, the Falcons game against the Saints always becomes a good game. No matter how good the Falcons are, how good the Saints are, how bad the Saints are, how bad the Falcons are, it always becomes a good game. It has pretty much no meaning of how they play in reality. It's like a whole different universe. Buccaneers and Saints, always been a pretty good game, mostly defensive game, exactly what it's been. Panthers, Saints game, Saints always give up a stupid play against the Panthers that, you know, whether it's a win or loss in that kind of game, they always manage to give the Panthers like a pat on the back for a play that they did that really they shouldn't have. Hence the 60-plus yarder that their receiver got, because the Saints didn't tackle them or missed tackles or missed angles. Like, it's all true of how they play these division rivals. So now you take that away, they're losing 31-17. And we mentioned that a little earlier in this stream, is if they lose this bad, this is a panic button moment, because like what are you doing? If they lose that bad, now if it's an offensive issue where they're throwing pick sixes or fumble return for touchdowns, then this is an offensive panic button. But if this is a straight Kirk Cousins driving down and winning football games, then it's a panic on the both buttons, offense and defense, which we'll get to in a little bit. But with this week, we're also going to look at just a couple main big injuries / questionabilities. Winston is very doubtful. I know Dalton is more than likely going to be week 1 starter. I think it'd be stupid if the Saints put Winston in there with him already kind of having a back issue in the Panthers game. Why is he even playing? Put Dalton in there. That's kind of why you have a backup quarterback that supposedly you trust. Put him in there. He played well in the preseason. Put him in there. I think he's the answer. Thomas is out, which I think could be good for Dalton. I think Dalton's first game, knowing he doesn't have another top player, could force him to do more checkdowns and play like a good quarterback. Did you see Tua last night? It was. I did see it. We were actually going to talk about that at the end here. And that's kind of what I'm kind of saying with the Winston issue. If you have a player that's hurt, and especially with this kind of thing, like a back injury could ruin your career. You know, I'm looking this way, and I get hit from the back. Your career is done. Like, because your back is kind of big. Like, I mean, it's kind of, you know, holds your whole other body, you know, upright. It prevents you from like looking down like this for the rest of your life, or looking up like this. It's kind of important, you know, kind of similar to a head injury like Tua. Why are you playing this player? I understand it's an important game, it's whatever. Keep him out. Don't think about, like, that's why you have practice teams and stuff like that, is for your backups to be ready when they need to be. I don't even know how they put him in last week, dude. Yeah, because last week he was hurt. I don't know if you meant Tua or Winston. Both were hurt last week. And like, I think it showed. Like, yes, Tua came back from the injury. I guess he was cleared second half, and you know, came back, won the game, and you know, in the second half, you know, like, good job. But now sit down before you really hurt yourself. And especially with concussion wise, is like, why are you playing around with that? like I think everybody knows the to how he couldn't walk, dude. Just the fact of like oh my gosh, looks like I clicked on that. Just the fact that when you see him hit his head on the like turf or ground, whatever it is, like his hands immediately went up and was just like stuck, like eyes closed, stuck. It honestly reminded me of Teddy Bridgewater when he was on the Vikings, and I forgot who hit him, but he was literally, his eyes were closed and he's just out, couldn't move, nothing. He was knocked out of a concussion, and it's just like, why would you even risk that? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the like thought process is on that, especially as like I remember reading a lot of the comments, and it was just like it was dumb. Like, why are you messing around with a head injury? And as a doctor, it's one thing to be like, your wrist is kind of messed up, but hey, if you can do basic functions, I'm gonna release you, but it's kind of your call on if you want to keep throwing the football or keep tackling with a hurt wrist, right? Like that's one thing, okay? Like a sprain, whatever. Like, some players play in pain, I get it, but when it comes to head injury, why are you even like questioning that? Like, if it's a question, out. Like, that was this week. Last week he did the same thing. He was on turf and then couldn't walk. Yeah, that's what I mean. Is last week he came back. He came back in the second half, or that was this week that he came back in the second half, or whatever, and that happened. The same thing. His head on turf. Yeah, see, like that's messed up, man. I don't understand the thought process and allowing any player to do that, defense or offense. Like, a head injury is, you know, I think the most severe of all, of all injuries. Like, why are you playing around with that? Like, what do you gain from that? I have yet to see somebody like benefit from playing an injured player. No, he came back last week, not this week. Oh, okay, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Okay, but yeah, that was a that was a interesting one there. I don't know, like, as a game itself, like, I feel like I don't know, that's something where it's just, it's kind of it's really unfortunate too, like, because like I think as a Bengals fans, and like as like the team or whatever, it's like, you won that game, cool, but like there's still a question mark on you guys too, because Tua was lighting it up. Tua was doing pretty good in that game, and then they slowed down a lot. So like, good job Bengals for winning the game, but like, I also don't really know why the guy like he had him, but then like, instead of just bringing him down, he like twisted him more. Like, it was such an unnecessary action as well, because like, he had him wrapped up and was going to the ground, and then like the player like forcefully like did another spin on him. Like, I felt like he had him pretty wrapped up and taken to the ground, but then he like did an extra motion that was very unnecessary to do that. But I mean, like I under, like, as a defender, like, I can see, like, it's so hard to play in like the league now. I can really see that, because like, how are you not, like, your whole objective as a set pass rusher, like a tackler in general, is go from point A to point B and tackle that person to the ground, right? Now, obviously, you know, basic fundamentals, like if you're leading with the crown of the helmet, you know, doing unnecessary things, hence unnecessary roughness, everything like that, you deserve like the penalties and stuff like that, obviously. But to wrap up somebody and then like, you know, sometimes you do need that extra force. You know, you never really know what happened on that play. He had him wrapped up. Maybe Tua kind of got a little burst in him, like, oh, I'm going to try breaking away from him. And he's like, hey, you know what? I still have a foot planted. I can generate some momentum and, you know, take this guy down. And maybe that's exactly what happened, and that's why he needed to do the little extra. But at the same time, like, as I was watching, Tua was down for a little while, and the Bengals were still celebrating. Like, most players, when they knock out, like, when they injure somebody and they know they do, like, it wasn't like Tua was just like, oh man, like doing his normal thing and his teammates are helping him up, whatever. He was down, and the one Dolphins player literally like grabbed the ball because I think he thought maybe a fumble or something like that, and then he literally looked down and like immediately like was like, yo, you good? Like, it's kind of like a little weird. The tackle wasn't even that bad. The dude fell on the ground while holding him. If he let go too, it was running away. That's what I mean. It's like, look at the tackle. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. It looked like he had him, and then that's exactly what happened. It's like he tried breaking away, and he needed that extra oomph to it. But it did seem very aggressive. That's the only thing about it, is like, was Tua not expecting the Suplex City like turnaround there, you know, because like he had him, and then like it just kind of happened very fast. And I think even the announcers were like, oh, like, you know, like whipped to the ground or whatever. But you know, it was kind of a little faster than I think, or like I don't think it was as aggressive as it may have looked, you know. But I mean, that's the worst thing about head injuries, is it doesn't take much. Is even when Tua fell, he like hit his back, his elbow, and then it was his head. And it was like, and that was it. So is it more of a tailbone, like something spinal wise? I don't know. I mean, obviously there hasn't been really much else released yet behind that, because it had just happened last night. So there, I don't know. But kind of going back a little bit to the Saints here, with Winston out, obviously, Winston should be out unless they want a repeat of Tua's situation. Dalton should be in there. Landry and Kamara is questionable. Now, this is a big question, but hopefully Kamara, I mean, he played last week, so hopefully he's still good to go. Landry, I'm hoping, is back, just for Dalton's sake. But either way, they need to run the football. You still have Mark Ingram, who is a very good power back. He needs to keep pounding this football. And kind of going with offense and defensive concerns here. Kind of a nice little breakdown and kind of what we need to do going forward. And we touched on it about the entire stream pretty much, of offensively, Taysom Hill and the running backs. You have the receivers to make the big plays. Let them be special on like their own terms, but you have to feed the running backs and get Taysom Hill active. That's where your energy is on offense. I hate to say it, like, or I don't really hate to say it, because they've ran the ball pretty well, and Taysom Hill has shown, especially against Falcons game, that he can do what he's been doing his whole career so far. And that's be fast and make cool plays and hype up his whole team. Like, that's the energy there, and you need to do that. The concern is you're turning the ball over too much. You're not doing those. You're not feeding the running. I mean, I consider Taysom Hill more of the running back role. So you're not feeding your running backs, and you're trying to throw the ball to generate the momentum and the electric, you know, energy for your team. But instead, you're just making turnovers and you're losing football games. So I think offensive-wise, it's the lack of running, the lack of running the ball, and then keeping running the ball. That's the other thing, is because they'll start running the ball, doing really well, and then they'll go to the passing game, then they'll throw turnovers, get themselves in a bad lead, or bad, like, give the other team a lead, and now they have to throw the football because they need to get the yards and get touchdowns faster. So just focus on running the ball, keep running the ball, and don't turn the ball over. Those are like the big three things. Run the ball, keep running the ball, and no turnovers. That's the big things. Defensive wise, more pressure for sure, and you got to get turnovers. They haven't been a turnover team. They need to get back to that. They need to get pressure. Then that's not even saying they need to get sacks. They need to get good pressure up front, and they need to make turnovers. Those are the two biggest things that they haven't done this year that they need to. And by doing that, they're gonna beat the Vikings. I can tell you. If they do, even if they just listen to the defensive side thing, you pressure Kirk Cousins and you force him to throw interceptions, get those turnovers, you're gonna beat Kirk Cousins, because he rattles very easily, and his team hates when he's rattled. He throws an incomplete pass on something that should be completed, and everyone's looking away from Kirk Cousins at that point, and that's how he's been playing. But kind of going back to the Thursday night, obviously, stop lying. I truly believe it. This is the first game that the Saints, you will really see who the Saints are. I think you'd have a lot of different outs and who's gonna be playing and stuff. So it's a newly look for the team as well. But they need to play. They really need to come out here and play and show who they really are. Defensively, it starts with them. If there's one big thing of, hey, who wins this football game? It's the defense. The defense needs to win the game. And like it'll start with them, and it starts with Cam Jordan, obviously. He needs to get to that quarterback. He needs to get to Kirk Cousins, get the ball out of his hands faster, whatever it may take. That's exactly what they need to do. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this week, but I'm also very concerned for how the Saints are going to play this. But I'm really hoping maybe they watch the stream and listen a little bit. Maybe Dennis Allen's like, hey, maybe we do need a pressure. Maybe we do need Tyrann Mathieu start being the honey badger. Get the interceptions. Get this team back. Demario Davis, I mean, he's been doing pretty well, but we need to get that lockdown mentality again. You have Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis, and the honey badger. You have like four, I would say top 100 players right on your defense. Do something with it, man. I mean, I would even argue, you might be able to push them up into top 50 players. Especially Marshawn Lattimore and Demario Davis. Even Cam Jordan's kind of on the edge there. He had a pretty solid year last year. You need to Delta, how you doing, my man? Welcome to the stream. You need to rely on these four players on your team, and they all are different aspects of it. You have Lattimore that's in his own little world, right on head-to-head. He should be against Justin Jefferson, and he's on his own island battling. He's like a Darrelle Revis at this point, where people aren't throwing to him because, okay, fine, take him. We'll have to rely on these guys then. But that's where Matthews comes in. You need to eyeball these routes and get there and make plays. If not, make heavy hits and secure the tackles. That's what a safety position does. You need to play. He needs to play better, honestly. As a Saints fan, when we got him, I was like, no way. We got the honey badger, and now it's like, why did we get the honey badger? We were better off with our other secondary players. They need to play better. They really do. And then you got Cam Jordan that's leading that, the front four or front three, depending on their defensive lineup there. But, it starts with him. And as soon as that ball snapped, the first player that's making an impact on the whole play on the defensive side is that front four. Those, as soon as that ball snaps, bam, helmets are colliding, people are grabbing, and it's, you know, it's bloody, it's sweaty. It all starts with them, right? Like, that's exact. As soon as that ball snaps, you have both lines collapsing each other. Yes, you have the corners or whatever. If they're in press coverage, you know, they're kind of, you know, tapping, hitting, whatever. But it's not as aggressive as what the line are doing. Like, they're ball snapped, bam, like they're into each other. You know, like, it starts with that. And if you know, if you go ahead and, you know, this is Cam Jordan, this is, you know, whoever the right tackle is, you know, bam, you get on the outside and you're already making a play on Kirk Cousins. It starts with you. You are literally, from an impact, from, you can literally start the play and end the play yourself that fast, because you get around that guy and you're tackling the running back, you're tackling, you know, sacking the quarterback, you're forcing him to make an incomplete pass, which essentially ends the play. It starts with them, and they need, and exactly what they need to do is they need to start and end this game with a win. They can't win in the second half. They can't win in the first half and then lose in the second half. They can't do that. This is a game that, like, I think as a Saints fan, you're waiting for a game where they play a total game. Because so far, all we've seen was 2 collapse games and then a Falcons collapse game where we win the game. Like, we haven't really seen a full Saints game yet of who they really are, whether it's bad or good. Like, you know, we've played well and then we've played bad. Like, we need to play all bad or all good, but we need to know who we are, and this is a week that we need to show up and do it. But that is gonna end episode 1, guys. Let me know, you know, first of all, like the stream if you guys enjoy it. I already enjoy it, boys. I really do. Just being able to just talk about just one team, and a team I am very passionate about, kind of non-stop a little bit. I think next week we'll do a little bit more bullet points of just kind of what we're gonna break down, a little bit more structure to it. But overall, I enjoy it. We'll see how they play. Tuesday we'll go ahead and do a recap of, or I have to make depending on the timing. Probably more early morning we'll do a recap of everything of week 4, and then what is it? We'll probably, I kind of want to do it maybe on Wednesday. We'll do a similar, like, Saints sit down for episode 2. But if not, we'll do it again on like a Thursday or Friday, something like that. Definitely before, obviously, the Saints game, we'll do it. But yeah, that'll be wrapping it up though, guys. If you guys could, like I said, hit that like button, comment below what else you guys want to see, whether it's other teams, anything like that. But also just how to make this experience better. I really enjoy it already. But any other ways I can make it more enjoyable for you guys, let me know in the comments below. And if you guys could, if you're new, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. I'll see you guys all next time. Peace out, everyone.